And we're joined now by Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who represents Staten Island. She'll be attending the president's joint address tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. First here, you tweeted this morning that I may disagree with what I hear from POTUS tonight at the joint session, but I'm showing up, listening, trying to find common ground, and will continue to debate proposals I don't support on the merits. So what's something that the president has proposed on new legislation in his first 100 days that you think that Republicans can and should work to find that common ground with the president and Democrats?
Well, I think the transportation infrastructure package is a perfect example of where we should be able to find common ground if both sides agree to really compromise. I think that you saw a Republican proposal that came out that focused specifically on roads, on bridges, on ports, airports, broadband. And if the president was willing to work with us to kind of compromise and make sure this is tailored to the true needs of modernizing our infrastructure investment in infrastructure and transportation in our country, that we can strike a deal where all of us can actually vote for that bill. And so, look, I heard a lot from the president during his inauguration that he wanted to work in a bipartisan fashion. To date, we have not seen that. As a matter of fact, with the pandemic relief bill, they changed the rules so they wouldn't need a single Republican vote. I'm truly hoping that this will be different with the transportation infrastructure package. It's the reason why I'm attending tonight, to show in good faith that I'm willing to work with the president to try to hash out a deal that will improve transportation in New York City and in cities across the country. But it needs to be tailored, it needs to be focused, and we have to be mindful of spending in our country.
And you recently traveled to the southern border, and you said that the agents there told you that they want to return to former President Trump's policies. As we know, that's not likely to happen. So going back to that idea of common ground again, is there anything that the president reportedly plans to propose on immigration reform tonight that you could get behind, like a pathway to citizenship for dreamers or legalization for seasonal farm workers who are already here in the United States?
Sure. I think a pathway to citizenship, as long as individuals who crossed illegally do not cut the line, is certainly something that we could find some common ground. I also feel very strongly, though, that we should be deporting those individuals who commit crimes and have been convicted. I feel very strongly also that we first need to secure our border and stem the tide of the illegal migration. I think the president and the vice president need to go to the border, speak with the Customs and Border Protection agents that we spoke with. And I guarantee that if they hear what we heard and see what we saw, that they would feel, as I do, about the need to secure our borders and stop the cartels who have basically taken over and have diverted the attention of CBP by smuggling individuals. And that is exactly what they're doing. And we have the ability to fix that. But he can't be concerned about the political ramifications he may feel from the left.
And as you know all too well, the president, of course, got no Republican support for his COVID relief bill, and his infrastructure proposals have gotten little positive response from Republicans. But the measures have majority support among Americans in recent polls, including 52% who support the president's $2 trillion infrastructure plan. That's according to our latest ABC News Washington Post poll. Any concern that Republican opposition in Congress is putting you at odds with the majority of Americans who want to see these investments?
Well, I want transportation infrastructure investment. If you polled me, I'd say yes to that question, too. The question is, when you dig into the details and see that only 25% of that package is actually going to improve roads and bridges and tunnels and ports, then that's the red flag there. And I think that the majority of Americans probably don't know the details as closely as members of Congress who are scrutinizing the bill. But I think that's why we need to have a thorough debate. You know, when we debated the $1.9 trillion relief bill, I had pointed out that there was still $1 trillion left from the previous packages that weren't even spent yet. So again, when we debated that $1.9 trillion bill, we only had a half an hour to debate a 600-page bill spending an exorbitant amount of money. We need transparency. The American people demand that, which is why these bills should be taken up with small pieces at a time. Let's deal with true transportation infrastructure investment, and then we can talk about the other stuff that he's trying to cram in the bill later on. But I think it depends on how the poll question is asked.
And likely, you know, that President Trump has been back in the news lately, talking still about how the election was stolen from him. On January 6th, when the insurrectionists stormed the Capitol trying to overturn the election, you condemned the violence, but then that night you voted in favor of overturning the election results. Now that we're nearly 100 days into President Biden's term, would you acknowledge at this point that there was no evidence of any kind of significant voter fraud in the 2020 election and zero evidence that the election was stolen?
So my vote was strictly on the fact that those two states, Pennsylvania and Arizona, have violated their state constitution and the U.S. Constitution by changing rules without consent of the state legislature. And therefore, they made those electoral votes ineligible. But what I will say is, those votes were taken away, it still wouldn't have changed the outcome of the election. And so, the president's been sworn in. I'm going tonight as one of only 40 Republicans in the House in good faith because I want to find common ground moving forward. I know that I'm going to disagree with a lot that he says, but I hope that when it comes to transportation infrastructure, when it comes to border security, when it comes to restoring SALT, that perhaps, working together and having open communication, we can maybe find some common ground and do some good things for the American people.
Congresswoman Malliotakis, we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.